Yeah. Welcome back to another Music Maker guitar video. Josh here as always. Thank you for tuning in. It's Theory Thursday, and I thought we would talk about some performance theory today, like what to do on the gig. You know what I mean? And at this point, it's not about scales. I have my list here of my 3 things to not do. It's actually really simple, but I'm going to explain a little bit on each one. Here it is, 3 things that you should just not do on the gig, on the jam session, you know, and especially on the jam session if you're walking into a group of players that you respect. Don't do this stuff. So first thing you can not do is overplay. And, you know, I'm one to talk because half the videos I post here are me overplaying because I'm just like, you know, filming my practice or whatever. So, you know, whatever. There's some mistakes in it. That said, this is never stuff that I do when I play live. What I do is I work on these things, and then when I play, I really just try to keep everything simple and in service to the band, because that's really what you're there to do, is like, especially like it doesn't matter if you're on a solo gig or if you're playing with a band, you have to really support what's in the room. So like maybe you can get away with more stuff on a solo gig because you're not going to frequency fight with anybody by doing so. But the more people you have, really like the more considerate you kind of have to be. So first thing you should not do is overplay. And it's something that I like for guitar players to remedy that, something that I preach a lot is to play the one note part in the song, you know, and there can even be like several one note parts. You shouldn't feel like you're less of a guitar player for doing that. I think having the restraint to be able to like not play chords just because somebody else is playing some cool sounding chords is a really good restraint to have. That's being tasteful, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And something that I'm a big proponent of also is to approach the guitar as not a guitar as much as you can, especially if there's other guitar players on the gig. You know, like one person's going to be playing chords. If 2 people play chords and they haven't coordinated their parts anyways, you're gonna have trouble like not frequency fighting each other. And I've talked about that in other videos. About how essentially like if you play different stuff than another person in the band and you're in the same vocal kind of range, like if I'm doing this, right, if I'm just on a blues jam and we're doing that and I'm already playing that part, if you come in with like, right? That might sound great by itself, but when we put those 2 together, they're gonna fight with each other because I'm using really similar placements of my notes. You know. That said, if you want to do like, and then on top. Part 1, and then part 2 would be up here. That's not going to frequency fight because, again, like it's a different range. You're orchestrating better, you know what I mean? But that said, you have to be really comfortable playing all those things, and you have to be able to hear it really closely on the spot. And I'm going to say one other thing. If there's a guitar player playing chords and a piano player on the gig, you might as well just not play chords. I mean, that's just 101 arranging. Be a horn player. You know what I mean? Be the trumpet part. Be the saxophone part. Be the rhythm production part. Be the shaker or percussion part. You know what I mean? Like any of that. Or double the bass player. You know what I mean? Like anything that you can do to just stay out of the frequencies of those other parts is going to serve the band so much better. So don't overplay. That's the theme of that. You know what I mean? Don't overplay. It's huge. And you know what else? One other point I'll make on that is like we guitar players get in the practice room and we like work on our fast lick. right? We work on like speed stuff constantly. I myself do, you know what I mean? Because it's going to make you more proficient. But when you get out there and just play all of that, again, like chances are that's not going to be the thing that fits with what the rest of the band is doing. Unless they all just cut out completely and gave you the spotlight, you're going to be better off treating that different. So, anyways, that's all I'll say on that. Number 2, don't assume you get the solo. Should you be melodic? Yeah. And should you play melodic things? Yeah, especially if you're a guitar player. That's the kind of stuff I might do, you know, just like if, again, blues jam, and there's a vocalist and a sax player. There's a whole bunch of other people that maybe have been there for a while and they want the solo. Just don't assume you get the solo on every tune, because a lot of the time it's not the case. And if you're in a place where people are wanting to be entertained, some people might want to hear the next verse, you know, so don't just like jump in there. And I had this situation happen where we let the guy solo, and we were being nice about it, but we called, hey, if you're going to solo, let's trade, because I don't think people want to hear a 14-minute guitar solo right now, man. No offense, you know. But let's trade back and forth so that everybody in the band gets a chance. It's a little bit more communicative. And what happened was I gave him 32 bars, and then I cued the next soloist, and he went, nah, and he kept on soloing. So I cued the next soloist again, because I don't take that stuff on stage. And then when the next soloist was confused, I just turned up my guitar and started soloing too, and I said, we're trading now, you know. It just is what it needs to be, you know. Sometimes, and especially like in my places, I wouldn't call myself the band leader, but truly I think it was a democracy, and I think the whole band was sort of getting tired of it from the looks I was getting. So you got to make a call sometimes, and if you're that guy on the gig, the band leader is going to make that call on you, and sorry, you know. But that said, don't do that. That's number 2. Don't assume you get solos, you know what I mean? And especially don't assume you get long ones, you know? And number 3, this kind of goes with number 2, but don't play to your ego, you know? And I think this kind of goes along with, again, like I didn't even get to talk to this guy about this stuff. I would have loved to said it to his face, but I think the guy's ego, when I told people to solo during his part, I think his ego got so shattered that afterwards he just packed up and left. And, you know, this is the kind of thing I would have loved to tell him, you know, hey, like, sorry I did that. Here's why. And if you come back next time, just keep that in mind, and we can all have a good time. You want to be considerate of others, and you know, music is a language, and this is a conversation. And if you think it's a one-sided thing, and I don't care how good you are, you know what I mean? I've had people have this issue who are amazing players. I used to go through this at Berkeley constantly. It kind of burned me out, actually, because there were so many good players that just broke all the rules constantly. I don't want to say rules because they sounded great. You know, it's all good, but it's not considerate to anybody else that's on there, because you're going to be on stage with a bunch of other people that can play their butts off. Or at least I'm going to assume that they can, because that's what it was for my gig. And I try not to show up to places where I don't think the players are good. So that's just kind of my thing. But that said, there's 3 things not to do on the gig. I'm going to go ahead and play my way out. If you want to do in-depth lessons, scales, chords, shapes, voicings, harmony, modes, any of those things, go check out my website, MusicMakerLessons.com. There's links in the description, and I will see you tomorrow for Funky Friday.
Bye.